What's goody with you all today? My name is RayGVT, and today, it's that time again. It's time to take a look at the new upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set, Cyberstorm Access. A set that I've been very excited about as we're getting more cyber support, which is always a good thing. And specifically, Code Talker, sort of, and Firewall support. Cyberse has some of my absolute favorite decks in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! To play. We're getting some new Cyberse cards to go along with it, as well as some new Signet spells and traps too. Cyberse, and Code Talkers specifically, are a deck that I've continuously played, experimented, and tweaked for so long now because it's just one of those decks that can be built in so many ways. Whether for competitive or you just want to feel like Playmaker from the Vrains anime, this set will help you achieve just that. So let's go ahead and take a look. Up first, we've got the monsters. Firewall Defensor is a level 4 Cyberse effect monster that reads, if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Cyberse monster, you can special summon one Firewall monster from your deck except Firewall Defensor. You cannot special summon monsters the turn that you activate this effect except Cyberse monsters. If a Firewall monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use each effect of Firewall Defensor once per turn. This is what I like to see. This card has a nice floating effect once it's linked off that lets you special summon any Firewall monster from your deck into the field, and its condition of locking you into only being able to special summon Cyberse monsters for the remainder of the turn is no problem at all. Nearly all Cyberse decks that I see or have played myself don't even bother with any other typing in the deck other than Cyberse anyway, so no problem there. And its second effect gives you some good extra protection. This is a very nice first card and opener. A Firewall engine is very possible with this now. Up next is Firewall Phantom, a level 5 Cyberse that reads, if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material for a Cyberse monster, you can add one Signet spell or trap from your deck to your hand, then discard one card. Okay. You can banish this card from your graveyard. During the end phase of this turn, shuffle one Cyberse monster from your graveyard into the deck. You can only use each effect of Firewall Phantom once per turn. This is not bad at all. When this card is linked off, you can add any one Signet spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Even though it's not a straight +1, it's very neat to have another Signet searcher. And there are some really good Signet spells and traps within the archetype. Signet Mining is the biggest one that comes to mind. You have Signet Conflict, which is your reversal card, and Signet Crosswipe, just to name a few. If you're going the route of Code Talkers, you've got stuff like Signet Codec and Signet Optimization. Its second effect isn't too bad either. You can use it as a good resetter for some of your extra deck stuff too. This is good because Cyberse decks kind of burn through their extra deck pieces quite quickly, especially in a single turn. I'm looking at Code Talkers specifically, but it's good to have that reset effect for whenever you have to resort to your plan B and beyond. This card is a level 5, so if it's in your hand, you'd probably need something that can use it straight from your hand or something. Otherwise, the previous card, Firewall Defensor, is a good way to summon it out with its effect. Alright, coming in next, we have a Ritual monster. Very interesting. So this is Cyber Sage, a level 1 Ritual tuner card. I actually didn't see that. That reads, you can Ritual summon this card with Signet Ritual. You can only use each of the following effects of Cyber Sage once per turn. During your main phase, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials mentioned on it from your field and or graveyard, including a Cyberse monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target one Cyberse monster or one ritual spell in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So this card lets you fusion summon from grave by banishing the materials mentioned from your field or grave, including a Cyberse monster. So fusion from the grave. Very interesting, and it's got some really nice recursion with its second effect. Now this is our second ever Ritual Cyberse card, right next to Cyberse Magician, if I'm not mistaken. Now that card doesn't see a whole lot of play in Cyberse decks usually, but I have tried it out a few times. I like that they're going the route of supporting these more anime strategies because they look cool in there, but in the game and practically, I don't know, it's one of those things that you have to ask yourself if you really want to run the whole Cyberse Ritual engine in your deck for some slick effects and payoffs. I like what this card is bringing to the table though, but we'll see how much of a difference it can make once we go over the fusion very soon. So we've only been given 3 monsters this time around, but for what they're trying to accomplish, I think they're exactly what's needed. Now keep in mind that this is support for Firewall, which is an archetype, sort of, in the larger umbrella of the Cyberse typing. These cards now cement the archetype as something that can kind of stand on its own and it's something that you can now build a deck towards. I'll speak more on this and what I mean at the end, but for now, let's check out the new spells and traps that we're getting. So coming in first is Signet Rollback, a quick play spell that reads, target one of your banished Cyberse monsters, special summon it. During your main phase, if your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 2 of your banished Cyberse monsters and add them to your hand. You can only use each effect of Signet Rollback once per turn. This card is kinda interesting. Allowing you to special back any of your banished Cyberse monsters is very nice. And with how big the Cyberse archetype has gotten, there's lots of ways to get your monsters banished if your opponent doesn't do it, or if they happen to be there already from your turn. The first thing that comes to mind is for access code talker plays, or where you go all in with your access code talker and just banish everything to pop everything. I call this the all access play. It's kinda dumb, I know, but I really like this deck, okay? They're making my anime dreams come true. Anyways, back to it. Its second effect definitely gives that back against the wall vibe, allowing you to return 2 Cyberse monsters when your life points are 2,000 or below. If you target any link or extra deck monsters, they return to your extra deck for a potential second chance type of play. This all sounds cool as a concept, but anime shenanigans aside, this card itself is actually not bad for regular use. It's got good recursion when the conditions are met, and it isn't a bad extender. I can see this getting some play as a one-off in the deck or something. And then next is our trap card. This is Signet Circuit, a normal trap that reads, target 1 Firewall Link monster that you control, special summon any number of monsters from your graveyard to either field so that they are linked to it. If your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard, return 1 Firewall Link monster from your graveyard to the extra deck, then you can special summon it from your extra deck. Okay. You can only use each effect of Signet Circuit once per turn. Okay, so this card is also quite interesting. You can definitely source a little with its first effect and line up monsters to the link arrows of your Firewall Link. Cards that have direct link effects benefit from this very nicely. The biggest one that I'm thinking of right now is Ebly with its effect. You can just Ebly your opponent. Its second effect can let you just cheat out a Firewall when you're below 2,000 and this card is in your grave. Again, very anime back against the wall type of vibe. So that's it for the spells and traps. They only gave us 2, but keep in mind that this is for a very specific subset of the Cyber strategy, and I can tell that they're really trying to strengthen it. These 2 cards are definitely very anime-esque with the whole, when your life points are low, it's time to go all out for the comeback type of thing. While I was saying that, it only just hit me why this set is called Cyberstorm Access. The special ability of the main protagonist, it only just hit me now. Wow, good job Konami. I'm gonna be buying a lot of boxes at launch. But anyways now, let's get to the fun part, the extra deck monsters. We did get a few new ones and they all look very cool, so let's go over them. Alright, so coming in first is Firewall Disabler, a level 6 fusion Cyberse that requires 1 Cyberse ritual, fusion, synchro, exceeds, or link monster plus 1 Cyberse monster, and it reads, during your main phase, you can special summon 1 Cyberse monster from your hand, then you can make this card's level become that monster's. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card or effect while you control a link 4 or higher Cyberse monster, quick effect, you can banish this card from your field or grave, negate the activation. You can only use each effect of Cyberse Disabler once per turn. Okay, can we talk about that second effect real quick, because it's very nice. So when you control a Link 4 or higher monster, this card essentially becomes a big spell or trap negator, and it can be banished from the field or grave too? That's not too bad. This card could definitely see play in Cyber stacks, I'm not ruling that out. I guess it kinda does make Cyber Sage a little more worth it now, but it is a neat card. Coming in next is Protect Code Talker, a brand new Code Talker at last, our first new one since Decode Talker Heat Soul. This is a Link 3 that requires 2 effect monsters and reads, your opponent cannot target Link 4 or higher Link monsters that you control with card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by battle. If you control a Firewall Link monster, quick effect, you can banish any number of Link monsters from your graveyard whose total Link ratings exactly equal 3. Special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of Protect Code Talker once per turn. So this is interesting as it's our second Dark Attribute Link 3 monster following after Decode Talker, a card that ironically sees little to no play in Cyber stacks. It's kinda sad and a little bit ironic because this guy is like the mascot of Links. He was the face of the new era of Yu-Gi-Oh! And bro gets like zero love. You really hate to see it. Anyways, Protect Code Talker, even though he has the same arrows, is already a bit better. It's designed to be set up right underneath the big new guy that we'll get to in a bit, and he can special summon himself with its second effect, so long as you already control a Firewall Link monster. He ain't bad, but he ain't great either, but he's kinda better than Decode still. Definitely a card that's meant to be used more in archetype than generic Cyberse decks, which is whatever really. Okay, and now we have our new big guy. This is Firewall Dragon Singularity, a Link 6 Cyberse with 3500 attack and only takes 3+ effect monsters to make. Damn! This card reads, quick effect, you can target cards your opponent controls and or in their graveyard up to the number of different types of monsters, ritual, fusion, synchro, exceeds that you control and in your graveyard, return them to the hand, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card returned. If a monster or monsters this card points to is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard, you can target one Cyberse monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Firewall Dragon Singularity once per turn. Wow, okay, so just by pointing to a monster, if that monster is destroyed, you can just monster reborn a Cyberse monster from your grave. That's really cool. This card is definitely keeping in theme with the original Firewall Dark Fluid and kind of rewards you for having all of the different summon mechanics present not only on your field but in your grave too, and returns those cards to the hand. And then this card gets a permanent 500 attack boost for each card that was bounced. We finally have a true equal to a rival Cyberse at Ignister. Now, though it is a Link 6, it is easy to summon out. He only requires 3+ effect monsters, so it isn't that hard to make. Ignister's basic combo makes a Link 6, but that is a whole process if you want to get the most out of that Link 6. This is easier because you really don't have to do that much. It also has a whole lot of arrows, which helps out a lot. He's big, he's beefy, he looks epic, he's the new final boss of Cyberse, or at least of this specific side of Cyberse. I really like it. However, in saying that, this is definitely a card that you have to build around for your deck because he's the big boss of Firewall now. But the new support makes it all the easier and better to build around. So there it is, our new Cyber support in Cyberstorm Access. Now, my initial thoughts, I really like it. They're definitely catering to the anime fans with this support, but I don't think that's an issue because these cards are actually good. The Firewall archetype can finally be called an archetype now. I would love to see them expand more on this archetype with future support in later sets, hopefully, but I think what they've brought to the table right now is really good. I'm a huge fan of the main deck monsters with Defensor and Phantom. Sage is a card that helps out a bit too if you choose to really lean into the archetype and go for it, and the new spell and traps work nicely too. Previously before this, I believe all we had was Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid and Firewall Guardian, I think? Both cards that can see a little more play now with this side of Cyberse. Dark Fluid is cool and all, but it was almost never worth building around. But now, that's different. As someone that's played Cyberse and Code Talkers to death, and tested so many different sides of it, this is cool to see. There's so many ways to play it, and you could even run an actual Cyberse Dragons deck utilizing the other extra deck dragons that we have already, which I absolutely love and play in my own deck sometimes. It'll be interesting to see what strategies people come up with these new resources. It's not a lot, but what we got is pretty great. But Cyberstorm Access will be bringing support to some more decks and archetypes, both old and current. One thing that I'm kind of happy to see is the new super heavy samurai support that's incoming in the set, which is an archetype that I truly believed Konami buried. But this is very cool to see. S-Force is also in a hot pursuit with their new Link monster, S-Force Night Chaser. S-Force is another Cyberse deck that I've had my eye on for the longest time, but I've been legitimately waiting for the deck to get that new piece that'll raise it up a bit more to play it. But I think this might be it right here. Cyberstorm Access is also expanding on the new archetypes that we saw earlier in Amazing Defenders like Pearly, Mikanko, and Rescue Ace, so it's gonna be good to have that opened up a little bit more. Both Swordsoul and Despia are getting some new stuff as well, but I like the number of older archetypes that are getting support. It's always a good time. Okay, so I just want to jump in here real quick to give a highlight to some specific cards that my chat mentioned to me on stream, and these cards are definitely something to look out for. Two cards. First up is Duality, a quick play spell card that reads, tribute one light or dark monster. Special summon one light or dark monster with the same original type and level, but different different original attribute from your hand or extra deck. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one light and one dark monster in your graveyard, shuffle both into the deck, then draw one card. You can only use each effect of duality once per turn. So first of all, one of the biggest things about this card is that it'll let you cheat out some very powerful light or dark attribute monsters from your extra deck. The biggest one that came to mind obviously was Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, a card that's been seeing a lot of plays in decks like Branded, Kashtira, and some many others. The next thing is that you can activate both effects of this card once per turn each, which is absolutely nuts. And on top of that, this card gives you a free draw when it activates in the grave, which is just... what more could you want at this point? Easy to say that this is a very powerful card, and I can see this being one of the secret rares of the set, but we'll see. Both Photon Hypernova and Darkwing Blast have given us some very powerful secret rare spells already in the forms of Spellbound and Triple Tactics Thrust, so this might be another big card to look out for. One last card to keep an eye out for is Shadow's Light, a normal type spell that reads, target one dark monster you control. Special summon one light monster with the same original type and level from your deck or extra deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard. During your main phase this turn, you can normal summon one light or dark monster in addition to your normal summon or set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. You can only use each effect of Shadow's Light once per turn. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn that you activate either of this card's effects. So this one works a little differently but keeps the same theme. You target dark monsters to special out light monsters. Its grave effect is great too, as it gives you a free normal summon, which is always really great because anytime you get anything for free in this game is always a good time. Both of these effects are also once per turn too, but the cost of all of this is that you can't conduct your battle phase the turn that you activate either of these effects. But in today's format, there are so many creative workarounds that you don't even need any of that, depending on what deck you're playing. Needless to say again, these cards are very powerful and you bet they'll be seeing a lot of play in the future and upcoming format. This is great chaos support, but the cards themselves are pretty suitable for a lot of decks. Of course, it will depend on what deck you're playing because they do center around light and dark monsters, but again, these are some very powerful cards. Cyberstorm Access is set to release very soon in the coming weeks, so be sure to pick up any cards that you might need in preparation for the decks that you want to build or play or even just try out. Anyways guys, that's gonna wrap it up. What are you guys most excited for in this set, if anything? I'm gonna be all over the new Cyber support because I'm very eager to try and build this Firewall deck now. But until then, I'll see you guys in the duel arena.